But just looking at the list of remaining free agents, Lepore, obviously, like I said, we have Nazem Kadri, who, it looks like at this point is going to sign with the New York Islanders.
Is it that hot? They really think like that's the one and it's going to get locked down?
Well, here's the thing, like, the big name insiders like Elliot Friedman and the TSN guys and, Frank Saravalli, none of them have like come out and said, it's definitely Kadri to the Islanders.
Mm-hmm.
The tweet that I saw, it was from some other reporter, and he was essentially saying he had sources hearing that, Kadri to the Islanders is sort of a done deal, but they're working out like, cap issues and things like that.
Yeah.
So it's not, I don't think it's a done deal by any means, but it does seem like he is heading there, and which means he's not coming to the Leafs. He's not coming back to the Leafs, everybody.
Everyone who was excited to rock their Kadri jerseys once again. But the Islanders is a weird one. I don't know. I mean, if they're going to give him the money, they're going to give him the money. But anyone who's on hockey Twitter knows the post of their list of contracts. There's like 5 or 6 of them of guys who are too old, too slow, and make too much money. I think a big, heavy, long-term contract of Nazem Kadri's isn't exactly a solution for that. But heck, if they're going to write the check, there's still that weird thing in me that thinks he's going to sign with Colorado. Like that, like they themselves are like maneuvering and trying to figure out something cap-wise, someone they can trade or something they can do, maybe get him a little bit lower to get him to stay in Colorado. Because I'm sure as far as what he's thinking, that's where he'd want to be. If he could stay in Colorado, I'm sure he would. I mean, the Islanders is just a weird one to me. But I'll ask you, Bruno, if you were like starting a team tomorrow, like what would you say is a fair contract for Nazem Kadri based on the way he's played and his age right now, both in the way of AAV and term?
That's tough because as much as I like Nazem Kadri, and he's still like a relatively young guy, like he's born in 1990. He's 32 years old. I'm not sure if he's turned 32 yet based on when his birthday is. I'm not sure. But, this guy just came off a career season, over a point per game player, wins the Stanley Cup with Colorado, is a multi-time 30-goal scorer. Like he's a really good player, but am I going to pay this guy, the same type of deal that I would give to one of the top number one centers from around the league? Because that's essentially what this guy is trying to get. I'm not exactly sure how much, the Islanders are going to pay him. Is it 7 times 7? Is it 7 times 8? What I would be very careful about is paying this guy like a number one center. And sure, for Nazem Kadri, go out there and get the bag, man. You deserve it. Mm-hmm. You have paid your dues. You've had a great career. This is going to be the biggest contract you've ever signed. You just won the Stanley Cup. Go out there and get as much money as you possibly can. But if I'm one of these teams, I got to be very careful here because I don't think he's a number one centerman. He's a great number 2 centerman. And what do you pay that guy? Now, you have the Leafs who pay their top 2 centermen $11 million. But in an ideal world, does that make the most sense? Probably not, especially for a guy who's 32 years old. So I think I would probably go as high as 7 million. But then you're getting if you're going over 7.5, 8 million, 8.5 on a 7-year deal for Kadri, that's a lot, man. Yeah. That's too much in my opinion.
It's one of those ones that to me is just shaping up that it's going to be a really bad contract. And let's face it again, I'm like you, Bruno, I love Nas. He doesn't skate well. He's never been the greatest skater. So it's not good. Guys don't get better at skating as they get older. So what's he going to look like in say 3 or 4 or 5 years when he's halfway through the deal? He signs 7 million though, man. I mean, he's going to get more than that. Like I'd be shocked. I think he will. Like I agree with you that, I mean, I wouldn't go higher. And if I did, it would be much higher. Well, I'll ask you this and let's have some fun and let's get some comments right now, say same contract, same term. Would you trade Nylander for Kadri?
That's tough. No, I wouldn't, just because, first of all, Nylander's, I believe he's 6 years younger than Nazem Kadri right now. And I just think he's a more explosive player.
Yeah.
Again, as much as I like Kadri and I thought he was a fantastic Leaf, I loved him when he was a Leaf, and I was sad to see him go, just as a lot of Leaf fans were. But no, I'm keeping Nylander over Kadri
Nice.
at the same number.
I think it's one of those things with Kadri where we acknowledge he's a really good player. And we've talked about this before on the show with certain guys and the contracts they get. He's a really good player. He's an amazing piece because, hockey players have different types of styles and they contribute different things. And that's exactly what he does. He's different. He plays different. And that's why I love him so much. But you can't pay him to be among your best players, because if he is, you're not good enough. Like if Nazem Kadri's in your top 3 or 4 players, no, like you're not a contending team. That's why, man, with the Islanders, they've had some drama over the last few decades with contracts and overpaying certain guys and lack of success. I'd be afraid of that one. I'm afraid for the Islanders. If we wake up tomorrow and Kadri gets like an 8x7 or something like that, or 8.5x7 from the New York Islanders. I mean, like you said, props to Nas for getting the dough, but I wouldn't give a high five to Lou for making that move.
Yeah, because I'm looking at the Islanders cap sheet right now. Their highest paid player at the moment is Matthew Barzal. Obviously, he's their best player. But it's actually a tie. Barzal and Anders Lee both make $7 million a year. So Are you going to give Naz the bag and make him your highest paid player if you're the New York Islanders? It's like you said, that just looks like a team that's just not good enough.
Yeah.
And I know this team went to back-to-back conference finals, and last year they took a step back and missed the playoffs. But man, you're going to pay Naz $7 to $8 million, make him your highest paid player. Barzal is in the final year of his contract. He's an RFA at the end of next season, so they're going to have to pay him. But man, yeah, just looking at their cap sheet, like that's going to be rough. And they have a lot of guys that are making like $5 to $6 million.
Yeah, that's the list I'm talking about. And they're all like, the list is always the guy, how much he's making, and how long he's like what age he'll be when his contract is up. And it's all like mid to late 30s. Like it's not good. Yeah. And there's like 5 of them.
There's a lot of teams that are going with the stars and scrubs method, so to speak. You have the Leafs doing that. Even Tampa to a certain degree, where you have like, your star players that are making these big contracts, and then everyone else is down the list making like $3 million or less. And then you have the New York Islanders who just pay their entire team $5 million.
Yeah.
Literally their whole roster makes like between $4 and $6 million. And I know I'm exaggerating. It's not the entire roster, but is that the way that you win? I'm not so sure. Again, I know this team made back-to-back conference finals, but when you're paying everyone $4 to $6 million, what that tells me is that you just don't have a lot of star players on your team. You have a lot of middling talent. It's a by committee approach. And again, you can be sort of successful, but can you win a Stanley Cup like that? I don't know. Personally, I don't really think you can, because you need star players to win Stanley Cups.
Yeah, we haven't seen it yet. And my line is always the best teams have the best players.
Yeah.
Period.
Straight up.
Yep. Pittsburgh had Crosby. Washington had Ovechkin. Tampa's got who they have. Colorado's got who they have. And you look at those names, and they're some of the best players in the league. So if you're just a team of very good, you're not going to get it done.
Yeah, like are the Islanders going to win a Stanley Cup when their 2 best players are Nazem Kadri and Matt Barzal?
Yeah.
I just don't see that happening.
I can't even see them being good. Like those are
exactly.
Let alone win the whole thing. Like
anyway. As things stand now in the Eastern Conference, like that team is probably going to miss the playoffs again, whether they sign Kadri or not, right?
Oh yeah, in that division. Oh yeah. So we've decided then we do not want Nas to sign an 8.5x7 with the blue and white.
I think we have come to the decision that signing Kadri to a massive contract like that would not be ideal for the Toronto Maple Leafs. What would have been ideal, Lepore, is if the Leafs, hindsight's 2020, if they could go back in time, keep Kadri on the roster at that $5 million cap hit, or a little under $5 million, whatever it was, and not sign John Tavares, and then have all this cap space to do other things. That may have worked out better in an ideal world. But I know a lot of people have their opinions on that.
Yeah, that's a lot of hindsight. Like let's go back. Let's go. Okay, now let's have some fun. Now here we go. Let's go back. Had someone told you, however many years ago it was, literally poll 1,000 Leafs fans, would you trade Kadri for Tavares, even with the contracts?
No.
They would all say yes.
Yeah, I'm saying like no one would have taken Kadri over John Tavares.
No way. Give me a break. Like not even close. Like you literally would not get one person have that opinion.
Yeah, there's no chance anyone was taking Kadri over John Tavares. You would have traded Kadri for Tavares in a heartbeat. But, based on how Tavares has aged, and again, we've talked about this before, point a game player, I get it, showed up at the end of that Lightning series in the first round of the playoffs this past season, scoring some big goals, the goal that was taken away on that Justin Hall pick play. I get it, but when your number 2 center is making $11 million a year and is having a lot of problems creating his own offense, unless he's playing with good players, it's a problem. And then when you see Nazem Kadri winning a Stanley Cup with the Colorado Avalanche as their number 2 center, making $4.5 million a year, it makes you think, man, what could have been for the Toronto Maple Leafs if they had just kind of stayed the course with that. But then there's the other side of it, Lepore, where people were like, oh, they had to trade Kadri because of his, his temper and his issues in the playoffs, getting suspended all the time. But I mean, we can go on and on about this Kadri situation.